Hi, I'm Corbin Chase. Welcome to Spiritual Health Expert Podcast. There is a holistic and spiritual remedy for everything. On this podcast, we talk with experts from various fields of life, health, and healing who prioritize integrative and spiritual approaches to wholeness and happiness. Let's talk about it. I think that a lot of people compulsively lie, like just instinctively just lie. You know, it doesn't mean you're a bad person. It doesn't mean you're not trustworthy. Sometimes we just do it. And so we're looking at psycho-spiritual aspects of why you compulsively lie sometimes and how we can heal it. Will you talk a little bit about the lying and how it came up for us and for you? And
Yeah. Well, so one of the most recent and prevalent examples where I found myself compulsively lying, my dog chewed up one of the kids' playmats. And I had noticed it, thought about telling you, came up with excuses not to or to put it off. Then one day you came down and found out, and I acted like I didn't know.
yeah, I saw the mat, it was chewed, and I was like, oh my God, what happened? And you're like, I don't know. And I was like, did Gutsy chew it? And you were like, you had a pause and you're like, yeah. And I was like, so you just lied to me? I didn't even care about the mat anymore. I was just like, why did you just lie to me? Then the whole conversation shifted into like, why didn't you just tell me? You know, and then I was upset that you lied.
Yeah.
Because we want a relationship to be, well, one, like a safe place where you feel like you can come and tell me things.
Yeah.
But also like for you and your existence and how you live as Alex, you want to be able to live within the truth always, like that frequency without fear. And that's what I want for you, and I know that's what you want for yourself. There's another example where you compulsively lied was when you were going out with one of your guy friends to grab a beer.
That's right.
And before you left, I was like, okay, great. Like, I'll cook dinner. So when you get back, we'll eat together. So you came back. I had gone to the grocery store. I cooked dinner. I had plated everything. And then you, like, were barely hungry. And I was like...
You were asking why.
Yeah, I was like, oh, why? Like, normally, like, you eat a lot.
Yeah.
I asked again. And then you ended up confessing after some like teasing it out that you had wings.
Yeah.
And then again, I wasn't that upset about you eating the wings. It was more about, why didn't you just tell me? And then we got into a conversation about, you know, if you are out and you do decide to eat, you could always just text me and tell me like, hey, I'm actually going to get some food, which I probably wouldn't be too thrilled, but at least I could prepare the rest of the night to not cook or just cook for me or something like that.
Yeah, and you don't deserve to be left in the dark on that.
Yeah. So that was another moment where you lied because you didn't want to tell the truth. So we were in the car talking about how you compulsively lie. And I was telling you, you're not a bad person for doing this. I don't love you any less. This doesn't mean you are less valuable in any way. It's just something, it's a protection mechanism that you built to protect yourself as a child. And then I think I asked you in the car, I was like, well, again, like I have psychic clarity. So I was like, I kind of knew the answer to this, but I was going to ask you anyway.
Yeah.
Did you lie around your parents when you were little?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. And why did you do that?
Well, for a couple of reasons. One of the most significant ones was, so I've had epilepsy since I was a kid. And my parents being around me, they could see when I'd have a seizure. And I always knew whenever it happened, they'd get very upset. And I couldn't control when they happened. But they would get upset. Not like angry, but it would visibly stress out the whole room. And I didn't want to be responsible for disrupting the peace like that. And so I would just instinctively, they'd be like, did you just have a seizure? And I'd be like, no, it's fine. I was just zoning out. Grades, things like that. I would lie about those. Almost always the goal was to just keep the peace. And if it wasn't that, it was to keep me from getting in trouble. You know, I didn't feel like if I said the truth that it would be received in a way, not that I was unsafe, but it just, I would have ruined the day. It's a lot of pressure.
Yeah.
as a kid.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think it is fair to say that you being able to speak your truth didn't feel available to you as a child because it did feel unsafe.
Yeah.
Safety doesn't always have to be like physical. You weren't physically unsafe,
Yeah.
but because of how sensitive you were and your unique self and how sensitive you are a Cancer astrological sign, like you are very empathic. And so the thought of you upsetting your parents took over your whole body, like especially being that little and experiencing your emotions like in that wholesome way and not having the tools to regulate. It did not feel safe for you to speak your truth. And so that's a part of you that was developed to protect you. And throughout your life, even into your adulthood, that part still shows up when it feels like you might hurt someone. So, like, it's a truly, this part was born out of innocence and like love in a way. But now it's time for the fine tuning, right? As an adult, how do you feel like your relationship with the truth is now?
That's a good question. I feel like it's relative. I feel like as an adult, I've seen the truth be different for everyone, you know? And so it feels like something that is flexible.
I'm talking more about, so there's truth and then there's you. What
Mm.
is the relationship? Is it strong? Is it new? Is it old? Is it kind? Is it scary? Is it just like how you can look at the relationship with me and there are characteristics?
Yeah.
What is the relationship between you and truth?
Hmm. A couple things pop up, but none of them feel like they hit the mark.
I'm asking about your relationship with truth. What are the characteristics between you and truth, that relationship?
I don't think I know how to answer that.
So, like, for me, my relationship with the truth, when I think of my mind, it's like me sitting next to truth, like this ball of energy, that is truth. And I
Mm-hmm.
look at my relationship with it because I interact with truth every single day. And I've chosen, so from that perspective, the truth and I have a mature relationship. Like, I've had the truth in my mind since I was a child. I've been told to tell the truth. And then since then, I've developed my own relationship with the truth that hasn't been told to me by my parents or something of what I have to do. I've chosen to actively have a relationship with truth. Truth makes me uncomfortable, but also makes me feel safe. Yeah, it's also my safe place. It's where I am never left out to dry. I am never left with baggage when my relationship with truth is strong. Because when I'm talking to someone and I'm like, okay, the truth makes me uncomfortable, or I feel like it might make them uncomfortable, I choose to lean on my relationship and trust in truth to share what I have to say because I will not be carrying baggage after that. I'm like, there's no other thing I could have said that would be better than the truth. And it frees me from being inauthentic and it honors the other person if there's another person involved. It's a place I can come back to that's always reliable. And although I might not like it, it's always going to be there. And then so that's my relationship with the truth. And it's in my
Yeah.
life every single day, all the time.
That's relatable. I think that part is where the freeing part came to mind.
Mm-hmm.
Like relative and freeing are sort of the first two words that came to mind when
Mm-hmm.
you talked about this. And I think that freeing is like a similar safety. There is a big comfort in the truths in my life that I feel like firm about
Mm-hmm.
and assure me. They give me confidence because I'm like, this is not going to budge for
Mm-hmm.
me.
I don't know. When I
I don't
when I
know.
look at you wholesomely, I think that you have a great relationship with the truth. I think that you have made amazing strides in living your truth and expressing your truth. And that shows up through like being your authentic self and like kind of like writing who am I from like your most authentic place without like any of like the societal or corporate, any of those like norm conformities. And so I think you do live the truth in a lot of ways. It's when that fear comes in and is standing next to the truth that the fear steps in front of truth in those moments.
Because I do feel uncomfortable with it sometimes, and that's what I'm trying to pinpoint is like what is the aspect of my relationship with the truth that's having me do this. I'm so confident in the truth in so many aspects. So
it's fear. It's fear. So in those moments when you have compulsively lied, fear was in the driver's seat of your vehicle.
100%.
Yeah. And that's nothing to be upset about. It's just amazing to acknowledge. And you can feel that. So truth has resonance. You can tell when someone's telling the truth. This is why, like, you know, I call you out on stuff a lot, because if you're not telling the truth or if a client's not telling the truth, I'm like, that what you're saying doesn't have resonance of truth.
Yeah.
And just like fear has resonance. The fear comes in and you can feel it.
Yeah. Yeah. But it's so like consuming that it's hard to separate myself in the moment.
Right. But we are not our emotions.
Yeah.
Right? You are your soul and spirit. That is your home base energy. So when the emotions come in, you can observe them and be like, even when you say I'm scared, you can even change the language to in your own head, like fear has come in, you know, or, oh, I see fear.
Like I'm noticing fear.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Yeah. It's always been fear. Like I still don't know like what to do about this. Like I don't know how to heal this. Like I don't know what to do. I don't know what tools to use. I don't know. Like I know, oh, I can start thinking about fear differently and not like embodying it, but like what are practices? What are tools? Like what can I do? Like I still don't know what to do.
All right. Well, one thing to do is establish your relationship with truth, like within yourself. Truth is part of you. Truth exists in the universe, and you can like make a declaration to you and the universe or God or whatever it is that you believe that I am going to have a good relationship with truth. Like I'm going to focus on that relationship in my life. Like just stating your intention within your energy, your being, your personal development, your spiritual development, your health to the universe, to the higher powers, the greater good, that this is something you are working on. Your spirit guides, everything will support you if you are, you know, making that declaration. And then you can visualize it in your head, you and truth, and like make that a visual you can come back to and check in on. Maybe it's like you have a cord between you and truth, and the cord displays signs of health between you two. Okay. And you know that this cord can communicate wisdom to you about how it's going, those kinds of things. Then you need to explore in your life the resonance of truth. You need to practice as you go about your day, talking to other people and hearing yourself speak, what feels like truth and what's not. You'll start like, this is where, what did you say? Truth is dynamic?
Relative?
Truth is relative. Like everyone speaks their own truth in different ways. And so you can pick up on when people are like nervous, but telling the truth. And it's just, it brings you so much closer to people and appreciate that you could say, oh, wow, it's like when someone's looking at you and telling you something, there's just a moment that happens when the truth is being spoken. And you don't have to question it. You just look each other in the eye and you're like, okay. Okay. You know, it's a sign of like honor and spiritual maturity, and it is an honor to be spoken the truth to. Does that make sense?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
And
I've
you
felt that.
just know. You just know when someone's speaking the truth. So like start playing around with that. And then if someone isn't telling the truth, try not to judge them because they're probably not doing that because they're trying to protect themselves and they might not even be aware of it, right? And so then you just start accepting where everybody is. And then that brings you closer to like the humanness and this experience that we all share, which then just makes the truth less scary because what you're going through, probably someone else has been through also. It's relatable. Also, within yourself, work on how there's nothing you can't handle. There's no situation that could come your way that you can't talk yourself through. There's like an endless source of love for you to tap into to help you get through any scenario. So even if you are confronted with a moment, and if you are on this journey, you will be confronted with moments. The universe will put scenarios in where you are confronted with a moment where telling the truth will be uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Stand strong and confident and say, there's no situation that I can't handle. There's nothing I can't work through myself. And you know that like saying where it's like saying the truth will set you free?
Mm.
It's true because you will leave the highest truth that you have available to within that situation and you will walk away with no baggage. Because one, you're not responsible for how someone else feels. But you know that you left that situation handling it the absolute best way you know how. And then imagine you do that 1 time, 5 times, 10 times. You have a whole week where you handled your entire week that way. Imagine how you'd feel at the end of that week. You'd feel lighter. You'd feel more authentic.
It's true.
Have higher discernment.
It's true. It does feel like weighted whenever there is something.
Yeah, because then you got to carry it.
Yeah.
Like you didn't tell me about the chewed playmat.
Yeah.
That's something you had to carry within your mind and your energy.
Oh, I thought about that
And
every single day.
And you have to like keeping up with a lie like that. First of all, it distorts your reality because you're carrying the load of a distorted reality then for me and you. And if we wake up with like, let's say like an 80% energy bucket for the day, you're automatically probably consuming like 10% of that to keep up with a lie.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah.
Like
yeah.
it's a high tax energy consumption choice to make to lie. And this is like you as an adult. It's different when we're talking about children.
Yeah.
I would have a very different approach to this conversation if we were talking about compulsive lying in children.
Yeah.
But now that you're an adult, yeah, it's more of a bigger question of how do you want to live, and telling that part of you that steps into lie that, hey, I am safe now. I'm safe now because I can handle any situation and I choose to tell the truth, even if it's uncomfortable. And I'm getting more comfortable with being uncomfortable. Mm-hmm. And I know that even when I'm uncomfortable, I'm okay because I can take care of myself and telling the truth is how I want to be. And then you practice it and then you reap the benefits of living in truth.
It's true. I do. I always want to tell the truth. I mean, you know from experience, every time that there's been something that I haven't told you the truth on, if you just ask me like one more time, not that it's your responsibility to ask me, it's my responsibility to tell you first, but like it's not something I want to hide.
Yeah, it just happened. So the next time that something happens where you're scared, catch yourself. You got to catch yourself. You got to break the cycle.
Yeah.
Or even if you have to start with to saying a lie and then being like, wait, I did do that actually. Like that's okay. And that, you know, again, especially if you're going through this in partnership or any kind of relationship, romantic or otherwise, like it can become like we're kind of helping you heal together. Like if I know that's something you're working on and then you lie and then you catch yourself and you're like, wait, I just lied. We can kind of giggle about it and then soften the whole thing. And then how amazing it is to help people move through that healing together. You know, instead of me being like, you're a mean, horrible person. You lie to me. Like, oh, woe is me. Our relationship sucks. Blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Let's be like, okay, well, let's work on that. Let's do that together. Like, I'll, you know.
I do feel that with you. I feel like a partnership in that way. I feel...
Because it's innocent. What you're going through is innocent and so relatable. And I've worked through this too within my own self. So, like, now we're just working on it with you. And, like, then you can, like, love and appreciate that your partner is actively working on themselves, which is like, oh my gosh, what more could you want?
See, yes. Oh my gosh, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I used to lie too. Out of fear. I used to lie about I used to lie to my parents about if I like snuck a candy bar from the pantry. So I was so scared of them, finding out. But I've even done that like as an adult, But that was a situation where I wasn't fully seeing and accepting myself and meeting myself where I was. That's like a whole nother take on the truth. It's like me avoiding looking at myself truthfully and like what I wanted and my desires.
Yeah.
And what those kind of like eating habits were actually meaning. Like I wasn't ready to confront those, so I would just lie about it and shove it all to the side.
Oh, so that ended up having like
Whole other meaning.
Yeah.
But then I cut it out like on my spiritual journey the past couple of years. I was like, I just didn't want to live that way anymore. I really didn't.
Yeah.
So I stopped.
Yeah.
I guess that sounds too simple.
No,
but
no.
I learned not to.
Yeah. It was the journey. Like I'm sure it took practice in the same way.
So once you heal the relationship with truth within yourself, because that's where it starts. Like, say your kid lies a lot.
Mm-hmm.
Before you can even help them with that, I would say start with yourself and look at how your relationship with truth is. Because if they don't feel safety telling the truth, and you're providing that their perception of lack of safety, start with looking at what your relationship with the truth is and making sure that's healed before you can go help your child with their relationship with the truth. Because this is like when a spiritual teacher claims this and that, but doesn't have any life experiences to substantiate the claims. It's like you're going through the same spiritual process within yourself. You can't go to preach to your children unless you have experienced it.
Yeah. 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 Because then you're just lecturing without empathizing.
Yeah. And so with my kids, I've worked on the relationship with the truth. And I would say I tell the truth almost all of the time. And I try to live in the truth as much as I can. Mm-hmm. I want them to feel safe to tell the truth. But that means that I need to be able to provide a safe place for them to tell the truth,
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
No, it does.
Or maybe that's too simple. I mean,
no. I think I think this is an Occam's razor scenario where it is the simple answer. The most obvious one is the right one. Like I've seen that. You create a safe space. Like whenever they tell the truth when confronted, they always tell the truth. Like 99% of the time. And the result of them doing that is never scolding. It's never you're in trouble. It's never, oh, you shouldn't have done that. It's always, thank you for being honest.
Yeah, I was going to say, I thank them right away.
Yes.
Thank you for being honest. Like, because then we can level.
Yeah.
Like, then we can actually have a moment. The energy is clear. The vulnerability has been set. And I appreciate that. And so then I'm going to honor it. It doesn't matter your age. Like, truth is important. And responding to the truth is important. And sometimes them just telling the truth, there isn't much left for me to say because they're smart. Once you say it out loud and like confess to yourself and the people who care about you what you did, the lesson's just packed up in there. Mm-hmm. And sometimes we just like look at each other in the eye for like a moment and then we just like hug and then they move on. Like they know it doesn't need as much talking as, I don't know, some of the parenting books that I've that I've read.
Yeah. Yeah. I get that. I mean, it's very, I think that goes into like the energetics of what you've been talking about. It's like a sharing of energy. They get it. They know if it's gotten to a point where they're confessing something, they know that something is off about what was done. And they probably know why.
Or I'll validate what it is that they did.
Mm.
Yeah, I guess another thing about kids and truth is I know their relationship with truth is going to be challenged, because even though I'm making a safe place at home to tell the truth, that safe place will not be held up in social settings like at school and elementary school and teachers and other parents and who knows other scenarios. So I guess step one would be to encourage the truth and create a safe place for the truth. Because I think that foundation within a relationship from like nurtured from childhood forward will stay. They'll know within their lives that they know they have somewhere to go where they can tell the truth. And having that outlet is so important as we grow up. Like knowing, like I wish as a child, I wish I knew I had a safe place to go to tell the truth. Like someone who wasn't gonna like get me in trouble necessarily, but just let me tell the truth.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah.
With non-judgment.
My parents did that once growing up for me. They said, which is like, this is like sort of a version of this, but they said, I was in high school, and they said, if you were ever out at a party, a place where, we all kind of knew I wasn't necessarily I was supposed to be, and you're in trouble, and you, like, someone's drunk driving or the police show up or whatever, and you call, there will be a no questions asked pickup. We will come pick you up and bring you home to safety. But you need to, tell us when something is wrong, because I'd rather you be safe than be in trouble. And we don't want you to worry about getting in trouble.
My parents would say, like, and they were amazing, but they were always like, we want you to tell the truth. That's what's most important. And they would say, like, we won't get angry. But they get angry. And like that taught me to treat the truth differently.
Right. And this is why, if you are a parent, again, you need to look at your relationship with the truth before you start requesting the truth of your children. Because, like your parents, if you were to say, I want you to tell the truth and then I'm not going to get mad, but then you get mad, that's not a safe place. Yeah, you need to be able to hold the truth as a sacred thing and like see it as less of like one person is more than the other, and just like, let's come together with the truth. Because then there's like that shared human experience of why they did that thing, and that isn't that where the lesson is anyway. The lesson is like, you got curious, you decided to push some of the boundaries that we set as a family and to take a risk, and like, let's talk about that. Like, how did that go? Like, how do you feel about that? Like, it's kind of like the truth is like step one. You need that to even have that deeper conversation.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, like grades for me was a big thing struggling. And I remember one significant memory of mine when I was younger is I brought home my first D on a report card. And I was so nervous about bringing it to my mom because I knew how much trouble I'd get into. When I brought it to her, I threw up. I was so nervous. I was so scared of what she'd say or do. Like, I threw up. Like, in all my years, like, everything, never happened to me since then in any other situation. And it got to a point where I didn't want to feel like that. There was a portion of my life where I cut out grades from old report cards and pasted them on top of new report cards to hide them from my parents. And it worked. But as mischievous as that is, it who knows the conversations about like helping me that could have happened. Now they were
Oh, I love
very
that. Yeah.
they were very open to that, but it was always like I was more afraid
Yeah.
of getting in trouble.
Yeah. A really difficult truth that I had where, because sometimes, yeah, truth can be consequential, like to the point where you feel like you can't handle it. Like a truth for me that happened that was like it felt like life or death at the time. But there was a truth where I had it in my head. I was like, my truth is now that, and I spent a lot of time contemplating this truth, if this was truth or not, or if it was temporary or what. Like how big is this truth for me? Like, is this gonna be is this like the ultimate truth? Is there any other truth hidden in this truth? And that was telling my ex-husband I didn't want to be in a relationship anymore. And I stopped drinking for like 8 months to make sure what I was feeling. I'm like, this truth is like simmering up, and it's not like I necessarily chose it. It's just what was happening. I was like, I'm feeling this way, and this is huge. I need to decide, like, what is the percentage of this truth? Is it really my full truth? Do I want to grow into this truth and see how it feels? And then that moment of having to have that conversation, like that's a difficult truth, but what's the alternative? I would continue to be, no, I would have been a slave to my life.
Yeah.
Because if you're not stepping into the truth, what are you living? You're living false.
Yeah. You're living someone else's.
You're living in a false reality. You're not in a false reality, but you're living in the false. Another reason why the truth is freeing is because we don't usually decide on the truth. The truth is something that happens or comes in like an energy, or it just becomes an authenticity puzzle piece that you're like, this is part of me and I need to fit it in. And there's nothing wrong with me for that, So like me feeling like my truth was no longer that I wanted to be in my previous marriage.
Mm-hmm.
I like couldn't judge myself for it because it's not like I just like I came up, I decided it. It's not like Corbin decided that. It just all of a sudden felt like the truth. And then I'm like confronted with this truth and I'm like, this has got to fit into my life and my life is going to have to shuffle around it. But if I don't tell this truth, I am going to be living like a slave to my life.
Yeah. 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 And you deny yourself one truth, how many more would you deny?
Right. It becomes exhausting to live in this reality of like, you're just not living in your truth over and over and over again.
It's amazing that you went through like such a length of attaining clarity on that.
Well, some truths are bigger than others. And other truths are going to come in and be like really big and shuffle a lot of things. But the point is, like, again, having a good relationship with truth is important because if you don't have experience with the truth, being told the truth is important because you are worthy of the truth. And two, experience in living out and communicating your truths. If you don't have experience with that, you don't have a lot of trust with the truth.
Yeah.
And you, just like any new relationship, you've got to kind of get to know it and experiment with it and try it on and practice giving and receiving it, finding someone who will give you the truth and finding opportunities to express the truth. And then you start to live the high frequency life that is the result of when you live in truth.
Yeah. And like, who knows how many of those opportunities, like if the compulsive lying I've been doing has been enabled, like if it's, oh, I just kept like not telling you about wings or gutsy eating stuff. It's like, how many more things could that lead to me not living in my truth about?
Because then that becomes, the compulsive lying becomes your safe place. But then it makes you difficult to be around. And people who have already learned the lesson of truth aren't going to want to be around you. So that already puts you, like attracts like. So it's going to attract you to people who also compulsively lie. So this more spiritually mature people who have just at another point in time. Doesn't mean they're better or worse, but they have already decided to tackle this truth within their life, within their spiritual health. They're going to be able to see right through it because truth has resonance, and they're not going to want to be around people necessarily who compulsively lie.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my
And
gosh.
don't you want to be around people who are going to tell you the truth?
Yeah.
Don't you feel like you deserve the truth? Always.
Yeah.
And that you can apply that to lots of relationships and situations in your life. And what do you do if you, like, your parent is someone who compulsively lies to you? That's a hard place to be. You need to know that, one, you deserve the truth. And your parent is doing the best that they can. They have a poor relationship with the truth, and it could have started since childhood. And while we can look at that and say, okay, we can have compassion for it, it doesn't mean it's what you deserve. It doesn't mean you have to push them out of your life. It just means you can see the situation from a higher perspective and with more clarity without it dragging you down along with it. You can still live a truthful life and have people who don't tell the truth in your life because they're family or something, without needing to, like, be associated with their lesser spiritual maturity. Does that make sense?
Yeah. 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 Because it's a matter of your truth.
Yeah. I think it just gives you an elevated perspective. Like, once you start living the truth, you can start seeing the truth. And being able to see the truth about people and situations is such a gift. And it's earned. It really is earned. And the only way to get there is by doing the work. And I know you, and that's the life that you want to live. This is the way we want to raise children and the next generation of people.
Yeah.
And so if you are looking to stop compulsively lying, you sit with this whole conversation for a while, like really think about, like we said before, relationship with the truth, observing the truth, expressing the truth, catching yourself when the fear comes in, having a conversation with that fear, letting it know that you can take care of yourself, stating that this is something that you want to work on, and knowing that it's going to take time and there will be opportunity for lessons and you can take them or not being hard on yourself about it.
That's going to be one to work on.
And it's just one step after the other. You take one of the opportunities to tell the truth and you feel the result of that. And then the next one and the next one. And each truth, one might feel bigger or smaller than the other. And knowing that life might have to shuffle around it, like it might mean you lose someone in your life because of the truth. But again, if you want to live the truth, you have to be open to releasing and letting things in, like allowing life to be malleable in that way. Because if you follow the truth, like if truth is a star and that's the star you're following, you're no longer as in control of your path, but you are living a free, high frequency path that you know you can trust. Another one is, like, picture the future version of you that is confident in telling the truth and appeal to him, what he would do, what he would say, what he looks like, how he feels, what his life is like. That also is like, you'll start manifesting that version, because when you decide to start living in the truth, it might be a path that, like, you've never been down before. And how do you walk down a path where you don't know where you're going? That can be scary. But if you know the version of you that's kind of like ahead of you, you can visualize it, then that part of you can become your guide, because time isn't real and that part of you already exists and there's wisdom there. So just like this is a very, like, it's a creative experience. It's a creative process, but it's all you. You have everything within you to be whole in this way. And then once your relationship with truth becomes stronger, you start to realize, like, to your point, that there can be multiple truths, which is really cool. And it can be a really amazing spiritual tool as you navigate, like, different life challenges or relationship issues. So when you're looking at a situation, you're frustrated, you can ask yourself, what's the higher truth here? What are some other truths in this situation?
Yeah.
Like, it's almost like putting yourself in someone else's shoes. Like, what's the other person's truth?
Yeah, like, which truth should I be speaking to in this? Like,
no, you always speak your truth, but seeing other people's truths is very valuable.
I see.
You
Okay.
can say that your truth doesn't mean it's somebody else's truth, but as long as each person is meeting each other with their most available truths, like, what better could come of that situation than two people meeting each other with their truths, even if they're different?
That's true.
And that one person's truth isn't any less valid than your truth, because our truth is a culmination of essentially our spiritual, personal development. Like, using all the tools we have available to ourselves, doing the best we can in every single moment is a truth.
Yeah.
And then if that's true, how does that change the situation? It just keeps elevating the knowledge. It elevates the perspective over and over and over again. And it like takes the weight out of it having to come from you and elevates it into something that's like of the greater good. Then it's like, well, what's the ultimate lesson here? And then when you approach, if you can reach that, like, kind of like the pyramid of a truth about this exercise, then you can look down from that perspective, from that perch. You're like, okay, now I have perspective. Now this is no longer really about me anymore. It's about love, or it's about whatever it might be.
Yeah.
You know, because then you're not in like the nitty gritty of like that, well, he said, she said, and then blah, 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 blah. You know?
Yeah.
It's like none of that matters. And what a beautiful place to be sitting within that situation. You're not judging the other person for compulsive lying. You expect the truth from yourself. You create a safe container for them to then tell the truth. You are setting a good example by telling the truth and maybe inspiring or planting a seed for them to tell the truth.
Yeah, I like that. The like perch of the pyramid, like you're seeing the highest purpose of your truth and the other person's truth.
I use that all the time when I'm in a situation where everything starts to get fuzzy and complicated and emotional. I'm like, stop. I'm like, what's the truth in the situation? What's really happening here? You know?
Yeah.
Because isn't that what, like, God, universe, they always have access. That's the level at which they pull the strings. They're like, if the goal is a lesson in love, then it trickles down into like, it's like one of those those games with the marbles, like it starts at the top and it like dings down, like ding 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 ding.
Pachinko or something.
Yeah, it just comes down into the most specific of ways, a very specific curated scenario, but it's all stemming from like love. And if you have the ability to go from the fine-tuned details of the beautiful curated moment for you to the lesson, you just avoid so much of like the pish posh.
Yeah, and that's less energy tax that you're spending on like a daily basis. It's
So if you're compulsively lying, acknowledge that you're doing it.
I am.
And start there. Yeah, you are. You're doing a good job and no one's upset with you for it. You're not doing anything wrong. It's just like, oh, okay, this is another thing that I've got to heal. It's just a pattern that's like, all right, I'm going to work on stopping the pattern. And it's like it's a dynamic thing to do. It's a creative thing to do. It requires nurturing and your inner mother and your inner father and the reworking and the uncomfortableness, and like spiritual truths are in there. And I mean, all of it. All right. If you try out any of these approaches, let us know on Instagram at Spiritual Health Expert. Thank you. Thanks for listening.